I'd like to welcome you to the Inner Peace Masterclass. My name's Julie Cairnes, and I'm a Life Mastery and Conscious Creation Coach. Today I have with me the wonderful Wendy Halperin, who works with children and is also an author. Wendy has, as far as I can see, illustrated, I don't know, maybe about 25 books, we'll clarify that, and has written some of her own, and works on can be seen on the Drawing Children into Reading website, which we'll talk about a little more. Wendy's won an award for the Excellence in Education Award for Drawing Children into Reading. It says her favourite award was a nomination from an environmental committee for planting the wild garden. So welcome, Wendy. I'd like to welcome you to the Inner Peace Masterclass.
It's very nice to be here. It's so nice to have a more of a global audience, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate I think many people appreciate what you're doing. I felt that it would be a really big gap in the masterclass without someone who worked with children, because that's where it all starts, and that's, you know, they're inheriting the world that we're handing to them, so it's so crucial, the work you're doing. I'd first like to ask you a little just about your own personal journey to where you are now.
Well, I went to a lecture on a Monday morning, and I heard Coleman McCarthy speak, and he is a journalist and interviewed all the Nobel Peace Prize winners, and so he spoke about peace, and he was talking about how we study war in this country, in the United States, and we don't study peace. We study who invaded who, what weapons they used, what the year was, but we don't study peace. And that made so much sense to me. I was like, he's absolutely right. And he talked about the war on animals, and I became a vegetarian the next day. And so that led me to wanting to study peace. And so I ended up working with a woman, and we did presentations on Nobel Peace Prize winners. And then this book came about. And so then I started to collect all of these quotes from peace, just people around the world, because peace is such a universal, you know, goal for everyone. So if we go beyond our borders and learn about these other thinkers in the world, that helps us. It has helped me resolve my daily conflicts, or, you know, conflicts in the world. So I did this book called Peace, and with Simon & Schuster. This is the book, and this is the collection of the quotes.
Beautiful.
And so then I started going into schools. That's what authors and illustrators do. And I saw that the children loved studying, drawing the peace quotes. And they seemed like almost starved for the first time I did an assembly, 2 girls were crying because they were so happy to talk about peace. And from that day on, I just kept, you know, somehow experimenting with this idea of how do we get children to study, what kind of material would children enjoy? And so I have always been drawing with children. That's just the history of my work. And so I've always done hands-on drawing things. And so I thought, well, how could you get this in a school? Schools are always, the big argument is we don't have time. And so I thought, okay, well, how about if we have between 3 and 15 minutes a week to learn one quote and then apply it. So I always say this project starts with peace begins with a smile, because that's Mother Teresa. And so you go out and you just start smiling.
Yeah.
Start smiling all week and smile at people you don't normally smile at, and your bus driver, and then the next week you do another one. So there are these very short, easy, super easy drawing lessons, and that's kind of where, does that answer your question? I mean, that's kind of how I got to where I am. And I don't know, the book has been translated in other languages, and I have this one project called Sit in Peace, so where you paint a peace chair and then you sit in peace, but you put peace quotes on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw your peace table on your website.
Well, that was because of the Greeks.
Right.
When the Greeks translated the book,
Yeah.
they said, they like that Sit in Peace project that I was doing, but they said they don't really have the expression in Greek to sit in peace, but they do have the tradition of solving problems around a table. So then I came up with the Table of Peace project, and so I make peace tables, and I have some that I will donate to schools, or people can buy them, or so because Gandhi, he said that if we are to teach real peace and wage a real war against war, we have to begin with the children. So
yes, absolutely. And I think the Dalai Lama's on board with that too. He talks a lot at the moment about education as well, starting with education. And Krishnamurti, all the great masters of ascendance and peace speak about starting with the children and education, teaching non-competition and comparison, all of those things that kind of destructive to the child's soul, and working in a more kind of creative environment where they're excelling within themselves, but not necessarily being compared to the child beside them.
Right. Well, the thing that I like about the peace quotes is that, some of them are about, being a better listener, or some of them are, let's see, like, I like Albert Schweitzer, do something wonderful, people may imitate it.
Yeah.
So, in other words, some of the topics are about, empathy. Some are about listening. Some are about love. Some are about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So what it does, it sort of almost puts peace into these different kind of chapters that we can all improve on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like you get these little assignments, for 1 week to, apply these ideas, or, try to do something wonderful that someone might want to imitate. I mean, if you thought about that for a week, like, what would you do to, like, even the Peace Summit that you're doing, this may inspire someone else to do something like it. So that idea.
And I'm sure children are hyper aware of lots of the events going on around the world. So, that statement of Mother Teresa, start with a smile, is sometimes difficult. And it's interesting remembering it's a Taoist exercise to draw a smile down into your heart. Whenever I've practiced that, it is the most beautiful, softening feeling within you if you let your heart smile as well as your face smile. It's quite
I love that.
I was actually wanting to ask you, I'm not sure if I'm wrong about this, but was it Steiner or some other educationalist who discouraged teachers from allowing children to draw with dark colours and just really wanted them to draw with brighter colours because they felt that darker colours might be counterproductive? Have you heard of that?
No, I don't really.
Yeah.
I believe that drawing can be taught, and it's like just when I think about the plant right in back of you, I mean, I could teach you how to draw that. And then you would start to like, oh, the veins are parallel. And oh, if you know that there are techniques to drawing a leaf that goes in this direction, that direction, and there's tricks to my trade. And so when I think about, you know, generalizations of dark colors or light colors, I'm more interested in, I like the Da Vinci quote. And he said, study the science of art, study the art of science. And so my work with drawing with children is that we explore the world, which is actually a very peaceful thing to do. You know, and when the question comes up, like, where do I find my own peace? It's really when I, you know, sit down and draw something that, I don't know, there's just something where my hand and my mind and my heart are all working together at the same time. And so that's a pretty peaceful place for me. But then there's, you know, there's other things like work that has to be done. And I feel like this project is one of those things where, you know, if I can help children, you know, connect to their hands and connect to nature and connect to, like, drawing you and drawing that fabric beside you, just the environment that you're in right now, looking at you. That's all, I don't know, that's just observation.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's poetry, right? It's your own poetry. It's your world. And there's a poetry in that, and it's really nice to stop and look at it, and then to really look at it, for me, is to draw it. And so if we can get children to, you know, have that experience, they all benefit. They all love it. Everyone loves to be able to draw. And anyone, so anyway, it's very peaceful just teaching it.
And do you find it to be a kind of a therapeutic process for some children? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
As you said, some children cried when you first started.
Oh, it's amazing, actually, because I've worked in very difficult situations, you know, like some schools that have real behavior problems, and you start getting out the crayons and you start helping them learn how to draw things, and the behavior changes. They sit there for 70 minutes, which is quite a long stretch for any child. It's longer. Well, you know, there's, you know, color is very engaging, I guess. Maybe I could say it that way. Like when you mix two colors together and you have some technique, so it doesn't look scribbly. You know, that's the thing. Most people pick up some crayons or something and they just start to scribble. But when you start to learn the techniques of, you know, putting like a yellow on top of a green when you're drawing a plant, all of a sudden it comes alive. The plant does. So I don't know. So I do think that the children are so starved actually to use their hands and actually study peace. You know, and study conflict, study how, I like Nelson Mandela's quote, like, it's not, let's see, in order to make peace with your enemy, you have to work together. And you become partners. So.
It's a powerful quote, that one of the most confronting on the planet, I think.
You think so?
I think it's very confronting because it's very hard to work with someone who's shown active hostility towards you. It's, you know, there can be an element of risk, a little bit of risk in that dynamic. So it's a very interesting, I love that quote because I find it interesting and challenging and beautiful.
Exactly. I think, I mean, and just imagine if we taught children that, like if teachers studied that, you know, they studied that quote and really thought about it for a week. And if two little children are fighting, you just say, hey, you guys have to clean up the cafeteria today. you know, the two of you have to work together. And then we start to, you know, have that be a habit, you know, of how to working together as a solution that we look towards.
Yeah.
So we can crawl out of the hole, right?
Yeah.
We can crawl out of the hole of the problem. You know, we just get out and maybe the wind blows and makes you change how you feel.
I think there's something in that human interaction with someone where you've had hostility. It reminds me a little of the circles of justice. I imagine you may have them in America, but we have them here where might be more with kind of children in their teens who've had some sort of interaction with each other that's been really fierce, like a really, to have become almost like a criminal abusive activity. But they are sat in a circle with adult mentors and spoken, they speak with their peers who will give them a little bit of advice and probably pretty strong advice, and also with the person that they may have attacked or abused. So it's like an actual face-to-face interaction in a safe place to really sort of work out that hostility that happened. You know, I mean, obviously it takes a while to build that circle, but it's a similar concept of, you know, and I think they're very transformational, those circles. Actually, I'd like to ask you, what are the age groups that you're working with in the main?
5, which is in the United States, it's kindergarten. So it's 5, 6, and 7, and 8. So it's kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. All my work is the problem in because of technology, children aren't using their hands to make things.
Yeah.
You know, to actually, you know, like build things, and so no one knows how to hold the pencil at all in the United States. It's a real problem, the pencil grips. And so my work is trying to, like there's a Frank Wilson said, lively fingers are the sign of a lively mind. And so what happens is, to me, is if you have children that are acting up in the classroom, the real disruptive children are the ones that aren't engaged. And so if we can get them to, you know, draw the alphabet, first of all, and get proper letter construction, and then the project is very involved in what's called visual literacy. And so it's being able to, like, look at something and absorb that information and then put it on paper, and then you can get quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker at that. If that makes sense. So anyway, the whole project is in this early childhood area because there's so many, you know, fine motor connections to the brain between birth and 10 years old. And so drawing and getting your thumb to do the work, you know, I mean, these two fingers, you know, the thumb and this one have the largest, what I call brain real estate. And so when you know, it's all about, you know, I mean, this looks familiar to you, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is get that on the pencil.
Yeah.
And bending the thumb. And so if you do this kind of work, you know, draw for, you know, 3 years in early childhood, you get a more confident child, and they're able to, you know, write clearly and express themselves visually. And so,
interesting. There seems to be some kind of gap that's being created by technology. And actually saying in the actual physiological brain hand development as well, that kind of fine-tuning of the, you know, the neurological system and creative system is a bit of a loss. But do you feel that the world is coming back to, you know, the old crafts? Old crafts. It's like there are a lot's happened in the last couple of decades. Yeah.
Do you think so? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, people are staring at a little small screen and like an artist, looking out at the world and, working with a variety of media, but yet there's just a tiny little world happening for people with phones and technology. It's really narrowed down their,
yeah.
their focus.
I
Plus,
mean,
their concentration level is a lot shorter, I think.
yeah, I don't know. That was my whole thing, raising children. How can I make life more interesting than, the television or um, the screen. I mean, technology is great because look, here you're in Australia, I'm in the United States, we're talking to each other. I mean, I love technology, but we just have to have both. I'm not trying to, throw the technology into the garbage, but I'm just trying to, we don't always want to be consumers, right? That's what I tell children. You don't want to just be a consumer. You want to be a producer.
Yeah.
So you've got to make things.
Yeah, I think the love affair with technology is kind of maybe settling into a more healthy place. I think everyone got a little addicted and a bit obsessed because there's such a new toy of being able to reach global communication. But I think now people are understanding the loss of the other things, of the art, of nature, of human interaction, as opposed to yes, it has its beauty because here we can talk about those things and remember those things and tell everyone, remind people. Actually, children, I just want to talk about children, because they're so sensitive, and I'm just wondering, as a teacher or any teacher who's working with children, what would your advice be in terms of helping, what would you think the qualities and attributes are of a really great teacher?
Of being a great teacher?
Particularly of working in this area with children who may be going through difficult things at home. And,
Well, it's just like anything, for me to become to get very, I don't know, for me to be able to draw, I have to study it. I have to study it. I have to do it. I have to practice it, right? So in getting better at anything, you have to practice it. And I think with peace, it's the same thing. You have to study it. You have to practice it. And so and children need to, I believe that children can teach parents. I believe that, the children are, if we only listen to children, they have so much to teach us as adults. So I'm kind of wanting to shift let's help them with their conflict resolution, let's help them empathize, let's help them, but we have to practice it, we have to study it. And so how do you study it? Well, I think let's just draw some mice, and put one mouse in this situation, another mouse in that situation, and then have a visual. Let's make it kind of fun. I think happiness and joy, and it should all be in that realm of enjoyment and like smiling, and I think that we have to work at it. It doesn't come naturally. You can't just, it's like that one quote, you cannot wish for peace. Peace is something you do, it's something you make, it's something you are. And it's something you give away. Yeah. So it's not something you wish for.
Yeah.
And
it's not that easy, it's actually a radical concept for many peace. I do. I do believe the world is very trained in warfare and not so trained in peace, the art of peace.
Oh no. Yeah.
And then there needs to be more education in how we can maintain peaceful relations with the world and with each other and with ourselves.
And the other part of the other piece of it is memorization.
Yeah.
Memorizing this peace quotes, right?
Yes.
And so that is really, children are really good at that. And that's another thing that's a lost art in this world is memorization.
Yeah.
But here's what happens. Okay. So like I'll memorize, I'll have these quotes, and all of a sudden I'll be in some situation and I can just pull that quote up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just imagine if we had a whole bunch of children that were quoting, the Dalai Lama and Confucius and all these people. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
The people, if they were really schooled in this?
Yes.
I don't know. It seems to me that the more you study it, the more you kind of crave it. And it's not like it's like, how you learn how to cook, right? And then you can make that great dinner, and then you'll make that dinner over and over and over. So learning a piece quote is like that. You learn that piece quote, and then you can adapt it to many situations.
And they're very profound. Most piece quotes have layers of meaning and levels of meaning.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I do, and that's kind of what I want to do on the website, Julie, is to, and I tell the children this. I say, hey, you know what? This is my interpretation of this quote. You may have another interpretation, and so let's get those going. Yeah. So draw your picture, draw your own interpretation, and let's all start to learn from each other.
And do you have any other practices yourself to maintain like peace within yourself or children? Do you sort of talk to them about meditation or anything to help people stay in that calmer, less reactive place maybe that humans are prone?
Well, I do, I think the whole breathing thing is really great.
Yeah. Yes.
Is a great thing with children. And so I'll do that right in the middle of a drawing lesson. Actually, I do this thing called pencil grip yoga.
Yeah.
Because a lot of children aren't used to bending their thumb.
Wow.
And, the thumb is what separates us from all the other creatures on the planet. And so they need to bend that thumb, because a lot of them, they'll just keep it straight, and it's like, that's a problem, you need to like engage with your thumb, and so I'll do this yoga and I'll say, take a deep breath, and hold it and then let it out, so I'll do some breathing with the thumb. Another thing that kind of a meditation sort of thing I'll do is I'll play Mozart, like a recording of Mozart, and I'll have them pretend that they're Mozart with these super lively, amazing fingers. And so then they get into the music. Music is very, very calming. And so I think a lot of like Mozart and things like that is really good for children. And then if they start moving their fingers and playing, like pretending that they're playing the piano, then, they have this other, maybe this like, whoa, wow, maybe I could do that someday. And they start to relate to their hands.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today on working with children. Have you got any last messages for parents or teachers or for children around peace and working with peace?
My only recommendation is to study it. Study peace.
Yeah.
Study peace and apply those quotes. Yeah. It's not something we wish for. Yeah. And it really does help. Yeah. It's like Lincoln. He said, I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. Things like that.
Beautiful. Right? I love that. Yeah.
I know. There's like so many great ideas out there. We just need to share them. Find what, I'm sure I would be very interested in your top 25 quotes about peace, because I would, if you want to email those to me, I can incorporate them in this project. because the things you've said tonight, I've actually learned a lot, quite a bit from you. And so that's how we can build more peace when we study each other, right?
Well, interestingly, I wrote a brief peace manifesto last year. A young Buddhist monk asked me to do a meditation at sunrise and to bring in a wisdom vision. This was something related to a page that I have on social media. So I did that, and I developed the Peace Manifesto, and I based it on the International Migrant Manifesto. And at the end of it, I put in a whole lot of quotes for people from all different religions, because I have a very strong belief that a lot of the problems stem from hostility between religions. That's one of the main areas: racial hostility and religious hostility. And so I tried to pull from every religion a very beautiful, powerful quote about peace and put them down. So I'll forward that to you.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love that.
Because everyone's said something. There's so many beautiful, powerful quotes out there from everywhere. So also I'd like to ask you just about the free gift that you're offering, a subscription to Drawn to Discover. So that will be on the link on your page associated with the Inner Peace Masterclass. If you can just talk a little about what that is to our viewers.
So we're going to be launching, I've got like 65 peace quotes, and the website is Drawn to Discover, and we're going to have Drawn to Discover Peace. So that's going to be part of the website. So we're going to have a code, and so I think the code, how about we just use the code SMILE? And that'll be the code for this effort that we're working together on here. Yeah. So your code will be code SMILE. And just put that code word into the link of the website, SMILE. Yep. And then that'll make you smile, and then you can start drawing and kind of experiencing some of these ideas.
And if anyone wants to know more about your work, they can go to your website, which is just under your name, Wendy Halperin. And
well, the best one, I've got so many right now. I mean, I have 3 websites, wendyhalperin.com, and then drawingchildrenintoreading.com, and then Drawn to Discover. But I guess you're right. If someone wanted to contact me directly, maybe drawing whalperin@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Okay. Well,
how about that?
That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and wish you well. And
thank you.
What you're doing with children, it's crucial in this day. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. I look forward to getting your quotes, your manifesto, and I'll work with it. I promise.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.